Just wait until you see this color. It's awesome. It's a throwback to the 80s, but so far I've never seen an original Les Paul Custom have this finish. So there's actually a few different ways you could go. You can think the original blue Silverbursts that we just recently saw from the Gibson Vault be offered for sale. I've seen them in Flying V's and Explorers, but never a Les Paul Custom. Or perhaps you think of the original run Robot Les Paul or the Skyburst Les Paul Goddess. However, what first came to my head about this one is Ace Frehley vibes. His 3-pickup Budokan Les Paul, there is a version that has a similar vibe, but this one is a unique custom order. The story of this one is a well-off collector contacted a shop to have Gibson Custom do a special order one-off just for him. However, he then traded it back into the shop soon after buying it, and then he died not that long after, so kind of a strange tale. But what's even greater about this thing is it's not just a regular base level Les Paul Custom. This is a B7, sometimes known as a BB7, meaning it is a 1957 reissue. Brand new B7s are much more expensive because you've officially stepped into the reissue category of the custom shop. So that's why we're going to have the Kluson tuners on this, because it's harkening back to the original 50s models. You'll have things like the neck profile be just a little bit chunkier. We'll have our red colored tortoiseshell-like side marker inlays. We've got the true mounted ABR1 bridge. All of the historic style plastics, although we do have a few replaced parts on this currently. But most importantly is a spec that we actually cannot see right now. It has a mahogany top instead of maple. And I've also seen some rumors online of people talking about this thing, that they played it at the store and they said it was unusually light, so it was heavily chambered. We'll have to see if that's true on the workbench. I mean, pulling it out of the case, it doesn't really seem that light, but I guess we'll find out. But outside of knowing the specs of a B7 Custom, how else can we verify that? Well, if you happen to have the COA, it would look like this, stating LP B7. So if you run into one of these, now you know why it's different and not just labeled a Les Paul Custom. As far as the official color of this one, I don't see any markings, but Pelham Blue Burst does seem to fit this because it's not like over the top sparkly. It just has a very light metallic sheen to it. And we've got all these other cool hang tags as well. But now with all the correct plastics back on it, what do you guys think about this finish? I think it's pretty cool, but probably best left as a small limited batch order / custom run. But it is really tempting to swap all the plastics out on this thing to cream, route it for a third humbucker, and put all the DiMarzios in this. It's not quite as sparkly as those, but it's the fact that it's a factory original finish that makes it a lot of fun. So to learn more about this one, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Well, the internet was wrong, but that's okay. We'll talk about that later. The pickups in this one cleaned up nicely. They've got the chrome covers, and it's a burst bucker 1 in the neck with a matching number 2 in the bridge. Both fan seri wound, early 2011. Bridge pickup reads 8.14 k ohms, neck 7.58, and the middle position 3.92. Inside our pickup cavity, we can see our long neck tenon, and if you get in here, you can see the mahogany top joining onto the mahogany body. Here's a look at that ABR1 bridge we were talking about earlier, marked as such. And a better look at our historic mounting with a lightweight aluminum tailpiece. And we just have our traditional 2 volumes, 2 tones. And here's a closer look at that pickguard. Tell it's the wide beveled historic style. They just look extra fancy with the back looking like that. As far as the condition, it polished up pretty nicely. However, I wonder if this is the reason why the guy sold it. He bought it and then, oh no, something dinged the top. It's gonna annoy me forever. Let's just let it go. Then over here, you've got one that's a little more minor, but it's still cracked the clear coat, so it looks way worse than it actually is. That's great news for a player, because that takes us from an $8,000 guitar to much less. Otherwise, the top is actually pretty exceptionally clean. Just some mild picking scratches / polishing swirls. Nothing too crazy. Moving on from our mahogany body, we've got the mahogany neck with the ebony fretboard. This one had a bad case of finger cheese going on, so I got that all cleaned off, conditioned it up, lightly polished the frets. And after I bought this, I realized, it's a 2011. Is it going to have a rich light fretboard? Thankfully, we can see the wood grain, so we can confirm it's still ebony, so this must have been before things get really difficult to use ebony for Gibson. Or somebody paid a premium. But we have a 1.68 inch nut width, 2.07 by the 12th, first fret neck depth 0.9, and chunks up to 0.99 at the 12th. Here's a look at that neck profile, first fret and 12th fret, just a nice rounded C shape. Nice full neck profile, and those tortoiseshell colored side markers really pop on this finish. Usually they're just hardly even noticeable. Moving on to our headstock. Multiply binding, Gibson logo, custom block with the small vintage style clusons, looking either doofy or cool depending on your opinion. And thankfully our truss rod is in fantastic shape. And a look at our truss rod cover, chatter marks and all. And here's where the lies were. It's not chambered at all, which is kind of sad because I was thinking, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. It's a new spec, although not very 57 reissue-like. So we'll catch the weight here in a minute. But if you got turned off when I said it might have been chambered, don't worry about that. Got our bumblebee capacitors and 50s wiring style. Free wood shavings still along the edge. Looks like we've got a small lacquer chip right here by the edge of the control plate. It looks like another small one right here. Black plastic output jack plate, regular strap buttons in our usual location, and a look at our toggle switch cavity for fun. However, just like the top, that's another one like the pickingware area. It's really not that deep, it just looks way worse than it actually is. But it is a small impression into the clear coat. Other than that, I'd say it's pretty clean. Maybe just some minor polishing swirls. We've got the thin binding in the cutaway, not that you can see it, but the blue Silverburst job does indeed continue onto the sides. That's the best part. Gives it a very sky theme. The finish sinks into the wood grain a little bit here by the neck. That helps us verify that it's also mahogany and they didn't change something else. That seems to be very historically spec'd, you know, outside of the finish. I doubt there's any Blueburst real 57 customs out there. So how do we read the serial number? 7 for 57 reissue. The 1 tells us it's a 2001, 2011, 2021. You have to look at the case candy and other identifying marks like the backside of the pickups. That helps us date it. And then this is our production number. It was the 1293rd production number. And yes, they hit the top of the headstock on something too. A perfect example of a cool guitar that should be played. All said and done though, not bad for a solid body Les Paul, 8 pounds, 7.9 ounces. That's something else that you gotta pay the custom shop for. Nice, lightweight mahogany. So let's plug this weirdo in and hear how it sounds. Fall into the stereotype that mahogany tops give you the darker tone, but that's what I'm getting delivered out of these pickups. It's aggressive, but very mid-rangey. Doesn't quite have as much of the highs. Let's see how that translates with our cleans. Now let me know about this custom ordered Pelham Blue Silverburst Les Paul. What are my final thoughts? I'm glad I picked it up to document. It's such an interesting beast. And the fact that it just happens to be built to B7 specs makes it a little bit more special. Because this is from the era when you didn't find a whole bunch of custom orders. There were like a few small runs of stuff. So it's not like today when dealers are just getting tons and tons of custom colors. They're a little bit harder to seek out in the 2010s era. Not impossible, but in my opinion, it just makes it a little bit more special to capture and document. And hopefully one day I can find a Norland era Blue Silverburst original Les Paul custom. So if you're interested in being the next owner of this one and you don't mind a couple of dings on the top and the back as we talked about, you can find it for sale on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. But if not, hey, I hope you enjoy your new guitar knowledge anyway. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.